How's it going, everybody? Welcome to week 11. We're going to go through questions from my chat here on twitch.tv/al_smizzle. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. And if you'd click that like button, I would greatly appreciate it. If you're new to Twitch, if you're just watching this for the first time, you're joining us in week 11 for the first time, thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate all the support that we've had on the stream. We recently made Twitch partner. So we've got a whole bunch of new emotes in the chat that everybody has been spamming before we started this recording. And I'm sure that we'll be spamming them for the rest of this NFL and NBA season, as well as when I stream video games as well. If you want to be a part of this chat, it's always locked down to subscribers only. Let's put it in subscribers only mode right now as we get into this show. If you click the subscribe button up above and you link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you'll get an ad-free viewing all over Twitch. You'll create a Twitch Prime account that gives you that ad-free viewing and a sub token that you can use absolutely free on this channel. You can always get involved for a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub. So let's get right to the questions. Blake Bortles and Jay Cutler are viable. Ugh, exactly. It's a weird week, right? We have the quarterbacks are basically where they're supposed to be, right? And then if we take a look over at DraftKings, running backs, no big-time running backs on the board. Nobody at 9K or above. Take a look at the wide receivers. Nobody at 8K or above, which is extremely strange. We definitely have a bunch of high-end tight ends on the slate. But if you look at the flex spot, it's a mid-range week. So a lot of things are just kind of all over the place. You know, it's just a strange week based on the way that the slate broke down in the pricing. GPP strat question: how do you determine when to fade the chalk, especially for defense? I believe Jacksonville will be very highly owned in GPPs this week, especially with the forecasted weather conditions. How do you decide when to fade the chalk at a position? You went Chicago last week based on Hundley not being any good. It didn't work out. I mean, you have to pick what works for you, right? And it doesn't always mean you have to fade the chalk. And it doesn't always mean that you have to be completely contrarian, especially with something like defense. I don't expect Jacksonville to be like 40% owned in GPPs. Maybe it'll be 15 or 20. There's 4 or 5 defenses at the 3K range between 2,800 and 3,200 that I think are very good defenses in good spots against bad quarterbacks that we can ride as well. So pick a defense that's going to get some pressure on the quarterback and possibly create some turnovers. Home favorites, obviously, preferred for cash. You're considering Gabbert in GPP. Talk me out of it. No, I can't. I think he's fine in GPP. Trubisky worth a prayer. Almost 300 yards last week. I'm not going to ride Trubisky. Not really a route that I want to go. I think that there's enough cheap quarterbacks out there that have a reasonable expectation this week that we don't really have to go off the reservation for him. Is this a pay up for QB in cash week? I think you can this week. It's more viable than others because we don't really have to pay all the way up to get the super studs, the 9Ks, the Antonio Browns, the Le'Veon Bells. They're not on the board this week. So stuffing in a couple of 7,500 to 8K running backs, getting a lot of mid-range guys, getting the value that's on the board in Burkhead and Bruce Ellington makes it real easy. What do we have here? Snafu gifted a tier 1 sub to Siberian Annex. Thank you very, very much for They now added that. You can gift subscriptions to the channel to anybody that you want if you already are a subscriber. I can't do it. It won't let the streamer do it, but you guys can gift subscriptions to anybody you want if you wanted to give somebody a 2 Comma Club membership going into the holiday season. Josh Mack, 3 months with Twitch Prime. Thank you very much. Bortles or Crabtree, Smith or Crowder and DK Cash. Give me, it depends on the weather. Right now, Bortles, Jacksonville weather looks really, really bad. So it's something we have to monitor as the weekend comes up, like rain, snow, 20 mile per hour plus winds. So Bortles is somebody I'm monitoring. I'd rather go with Smith Crowder as we sit right now. Everybody on KC is predicted to go off. Everybody projects Hill and Hunt and Kelsey to have monster weeks. Well, if that happens, then Smith is probably going to have a solid week as well. Do I think Burkhead has enough upside for GPP? I do. Anybody on that New England offense can score 2 touchdowns. And what does he really have to do to be GPP viable? Score 15 points at 3.6K? Well within his reach with the amount of usage that he's getting. Can I rank the following tight ends? Lewis, Croft, Gresham, Watson. I like Watson the most out of that group. Then probably Croft, Lewis for a touchdown GPP flyer. John Brown against the corpse of the Texans D. Definitely. I think that he's in play for GPPs for sure. Flacco, Macklin for GPP. Yikes, shoot me. I think Macklin's more in play than Flacco.
Macklin has to do a lot less. Flacco, to be GPP viable, has to have like a 25-point day. I don't know that he's going to pull that off. In GPPs, how many lineups do I make? In 3 max, should all 3 be very different? Is lineup different for a 25-cent tournament or that I use for the minute maker? We've talked about my 3 max strategy, right? I take my cash game lineup, I put that in. Then I make what I call a leagues lineup, which is something you would use in like a 20-man, 50-man, or 100-man league, where it's kind of like your cash game lineup with maybe a 2 versus 2 or 3 versus 3 pivot. And then I make a GPP lineup. If everybody's doing X, Y, and Z in tournaments or in cash games, this is going to be the chalk, right? They're all going to be on Burkhead. They're all going to be on Ellington, which means they're all going to pay up for these 2 running backs and this wide receiver, which means they're going to be on this quarterback. Don't use those value plays, right? Just don't use those value plays and then pay a mid-range guy there, and then it'll force you to be contrarian in other spots. So you'll make a great GPP lineup without being stupid, right? You'll be contrarian without being dumb. Ingram, 1 target the last 2 weeks, an outlier of the new norm. That's my question. I don't know for sure. He's too good of a pass catcher to keep getting 1 target in the passing game or 1.5 targets. I don't know. Can we give subs? Can we give me subs to give out? No, I can't do it. If you're already a sub and you click the subscribe button, it'll say gift a sub to somebody else. You can gift a sub to one of your friends. I was watching Nick's stream yesterday, and people were gifting subs to like John Cena and Nicki Minaj and Eminem. Insane. S. Boynton, subscribed 4 months in a row with Twitch Prime membership. Thank you very much. Been a profitable 4 months. Jay Williams, cash viable on FD. Allows me to get up to Mike Evans. Yeah, if you want to go get Mike Evans, he's fine. Bruce Ellington or Inman at that value play. I prefer Ellington. I'm scrolled up in the chat, guys, so I'm trying to keep up. Is Thompson GPP play? What? Chris Thompson, the running back? I assume that means. I like him a lot. I definitely think he's a GPP play, definitely GPP viable with his usage in the passing game, with Rob out this week against New Orleans on the fast track, no weather. Him on turf is just going to be a beast to deal with, but he's got to score and he's got to bust a big play to be viable. And their cornerbacks have done a good job on wide receivers. New Orleans have, which means that Chris Thompson probably going to get a little bit of extra love this week. No Jags pass catchers in Best Buys. I think Marquise Lee is fine. Who's your favorite running back? Didn't I put Marquise Lee in there? I thought I did, at least as a tournament play. What's my favorite running back? 7K plus. Hunt, Ingram, and Gordon. Fine with 3 Chiefs in cash? Probably not 3. I think 2 is fine. Strategy question, do I like flexing a tight end like Lewis or flexing a running back like Burkhead? I think Burkhead gets a lot more usage this week with as much red zone usage. I'm going to take the guy with more opportunities, more carries, more targets. Lewis is going to get high end, like 5 or 6 targets. Burkhead, we've seen him get as many as 8, so different situation. 2 tight end strategy in cash, definitely viable this week. Kelsey and Watson being those 2, I wouldn't be mad at that at all. I don't think that's a mistake. Derek Carr, what you think is still an iffy New England defense and in Mexico? I think he's fine in GPP. He's not really somebody I want to rely on in cash. For DK cash, Alex Smith, Travis Kelce, or Tom Brady, Gronk looking to pay up Ellington and Burkhead as cash options. I would probably prefer to go with Alex Smith and Kelce this week and use that savings to upgrade my other wide receiver or running back. Kelsey's a monster, and I'll take the extra, whatever it is. What is it, 700 to go down from Brady down to Alex Smith. B. Sarecki with the 501 bits. Top D on the day. Thank you very much. Can go both Macklin, or sorry, Nevek, still the top D at 1,000 bits. My bad. Can go both Macklin and Watson in cash. Is that too thin? I don't want that much exposure to Baltimore's offense in cash. If you're going to go with somebody from that game, pick one of those 2, but I would not ride both. Wentz to Alshon in cash. They're not on the slate. What am I missing? Doug Martin, question. This is fine. Exactly. You're a dog drinking coffee in a house full of flames. Oh, on FD? You can. I don't think it's necessary.
Is it too much to have 4 players from one team in a GPP? No, that would be called an onslaught. So when we talk about a stack for GPP, we talk about a super stack or a double stack in GPP, and we talk about an onslaught. An onslaught is 4 players from the same team. Pretty set on playing Ingram, Kamara, and Cash together. Seems like the play nearly guaranteed 30 points with upside. Are you crazy? I don't think you're crazy. You are possibly limiting your upside with how many touchdowns are they actually going to score. They've been on the right side of variance. I think Kamara has 4 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks, something that's really just not sustainable. Is there a change in strategy if you entered satellites, including Thursday, and you were one of the 2 people to use AB, and it basically turns into a head-to-head, right? Yeah, you're basically playing against that one dude right now, unless there's 2 or 3 other guys that have 40-plus fantasy points. If you played AB in Thursday night, now you need to look at your lineup, look at who the other guy played. If it's just Antonio Brown, that's the only guy that you played from last night, and he played from last night, make the rest of your lineup. I would just play the right lineup outside of Antonio Brown, right? I would not try and get fancy. You already have a lead on everybody else. What do I mean when I say 2v2 or 3v3? Take 2 players that are in your lineup, take them out, put 2 other players in. 2 versus 2. These 2 or these 2. Like, think about it like an optometrist, right? When you go to the eye doctor and say, do you better like this or better like this? Do you like these 2 players or do you like these 2 players? Do you like these 3 players or do you like these 3 players? That's a 2v2 or a 3v3. Thielen or Diggs? I'll take Thielen. Love Diggs, but Thielen's been a monster this year. CJ at home against Cincinnati. I don't know if I'm going to have any of him this week. Thoughts on Gurley this week? Massive volume all the time, but just you're running him into a meat grinder. Like I think I'm off the Rams this week against Minnesota in Minnesota. D-Hop and Cash, help. I think he's cash game viable. I don't think he's cash game necessary. With Ellington being there, if I'm going to have exposure to somebody in that offense, it's probably going to be Ellington and Cash because of the 3+ K savings and 0 exposure on Ellington to Patrick Peterson. Diggs or Parker for GPP. Parker's going to be much higher owned. Diggs has a much worse matchup, but will be much lower owned. And as we've seen, is somewhat matchup independent. It doesn't matter who's guarding Stephon Diggs. He's still able to get loose against top cornerbacks in the league. Cooks and Hill or Shepard or Gordon and Shepard. Give me Gordon and Shepard in cash. Melvin Gordon is greater than Hunt in DK cash. No, I'd prefer Hunt. They're very close in price. I'd still prefer Hunt. Mercedes Lewis in play. Yeah, he's in play for GPP for me. I think there's enough value on the slate that he's not a necessary option in cash. Michael Crabtree for GPP, most definitely. I think he's cash game viable. Abdullah, thoughts at 4.2K. Let's take a look. He's 4.2K, so he doesn't really have to do all that much. He scored a touchdown in each of the last 2 weeks. So let's take these touchdowns out of here, right? So if you take that touchdown out, he had 6.5, he had 5.7, 6.8, 5.4, 4.4. The only way he reaches it is if he scores a touchdown. You're playing a player who is 100% touchdown dependent. Now, for me, that means that I want him nowhere near my cash game, right? I want him nowhere near my main lineup. But he does have big playability. He plays against a team that muffles wide receivers, does have a good front seven, but they can give up a big play from time to time. He's fringe GPP for me. He's not even a core GPP play. Like, if you really want to have exposure to Amir Abdullah, that's fine. I think I've had exposure to him 1 time this year out of 10 weeks. D.D. Westbrook or Keelan Cole, I'm still waiting. I'm in a holding pattern on everybody that's in that offense right now. Just based on Fournette's status right now and based on the Rain status right now. I don't know what to do. Is Jarvis Landry cash viable once again this week? Yes. Yes, he is. There's a lot of wide receivers in that range, right? I mean, because there's no wide receivers more expensive than Mike Evans, right? So 7,900. But look at the guys in the 6K range. Fitzgerald up against Houston, who gives up a ton of points to the slot, has been horrible against the pass recently, and now has a new quarterback that funnels the ball to slot receivers last year, through like 30+% of his targets to the slot wide receiver last year. Golden Tate, basically an every week play. Stephon Diggs, fine. Brandon Cooks against Oakland, fine. And they're terrible cornerbacks. Parker, really good play. Landry, really good play. Shepard, the absolute chalk. DeAndre Hopkins, probably going to be less efficient than usual, but is still probably going to get 12+ targets this week. And down to Crabtree at 5,900. There's so many plays in that 5,900 to 6,900 range that are just so very nice that it makes me want to stay in that range for wide receivers in cash. Keenum too risky because he might get pulled. I don't know if he's going to get pulled. Do I think Fournette is still hurt somewhat? I don't think he practiced today at last I saw. So if they don't practice on Friday, it really kind of gets my ears up. Kelsey oftentimes gives us duds, a little weary in cash, even in a prime matchup. I mean, he's had one dud this year, right? He did. He had like one catch for like 2 yards. I'm not fading Kelsey. I'm going to have a lot of Travis Kelsey this week. Every week someone asks Crabtree or Cooper. Exactly. Chat can answer that one. Which one am I going to say? Crabtree or Cooper, chat? Do I like the idea of Kelsey and Gronk this week for cash? No. I like that for tournaments. There's good value to make it happen. I would prefer that for tournaments, not for cash. I think it's a fantastic tournament lineup. See, chat got it right. All of a sudden, you know what we're going to find out? We're going to find out real quick if which one of you guys is CSU Ram with a burner Twitch account with some fake name as soon as somebody types Cooper in the chat. Need a Crabtree emote? Maybe a Crabtree emote might be the way to go. I'll figure some out. If you're chasing AB in head-to-head, do you go with more of a leagues lineup? Most definitely. If you're playing Thursday through Monday head-to-head games and somebody played AB and you didn't, you're chasing. You can't play the chalk now. You have to differentiate at least 3 other spots in your lineup to try and chase them down from behind. And if that means fading Kelsey, or if that means fading Ellington, or if that means fading Burkhead or Shepard, you have to make that decision. You don't have to fade all of them, but you do have to differentiate that lineup because you're going to be chasing massively. Do I think Gabbert becomes a cash viable if Borders weather becomes a concern? Yes, I think that he becomes a very viable, cheap option in cash, or you can just pay up to the mid-6s and find somebody. Need a Jerry Bark emote? You got to wait for Adam to get a Twitch channel to make that a thing. It's his dog. I can't have an emote of another man's dog. Am I crazy for liking Browns D this week with Fournette possibly out? And don't forget the rain, right? Don't forget the rain and the wind. I don't think that's a terrible shout if the weather is all that horrible. Anytime that the weather gets really sloppy and windy, I think that the cheap defenses have a lot more viability than they would in a normal week. Man's got to have a code. I agree. McKinnon versus Thompson. Give me Thompson. Latavius or Jarek and GPP. Give me Jarek. Higher upside because of his pass game inclusion and bigger play possibility. Bortles makes errors. Yeah, but that's baked into his price. And if you look at what he's done the last few weeks, last 4 weeks, he's reached value on his salary for this week, right? So if we go check out his game log, he's 5.2K. We need 15 points. 18, 16, 20, 14. He's been fine for the last month. Pittsburgh, one of the toughest defenses in the league against opposing passers, right? And he's got just about the softest matchup for any quarterback that we see right here in the Browns. So, yeah, he makes errors. He's not a great quarterback, but you know what? If you're going to play him, this is a week to do it. T.Y., if there's no wind. T.Y. Tittle, thank you very much for the new sub. Appreciate you. Rams, defense, GPP, or cash. More GPP for me. Corey Coleman, I'm probably not going to be playing him. Thompson and cash, if you need it, but I don't think it's necessary. Explanation why I don't like Kelsey Gronk for cash. I'd rather not spend that much on 2 tight ends. I'll take one of them, and then I'll play mid-range wide receivers. I just went through all the mid-range wide receivers. Brady Gronk or Smith Kelsey in cash. I prefer Smith Kelsey. There's only like 2.5 guys on the Chiefs who catch the ball. Realistically, right? There's Kelsey, there's Tyreek Hill who gets like 6 targets, and there's Hunt. So the chances of Kelsey getting a 10-target game are massive. The chances of him getting a 100-yard game are high for a tight end. Gronk has to deal with Cooks. Amendola has 3 running backs that can catch the ball in the backfield. He has a quarterback that spreads the ball around a ton. Does he have as high a touchdown possibility as Kelsey? Most definitely. But Kelsey has outperformed him the last 3 years. Go look at the last 3 years of game logs for Gronk versus Kelsey and tell me, report back, which one has more multiple touchdown games? I think it's still Gronk. Which one has more 100-yard games? Definitely Kelsey by a big margin. And which one has more 10-catch games or 10-target games? Definitely Kelsey by a big margin. Do I like Hopkins at 6.1 versus Arizona? Yeah, fringe cash play, definitely GPP viable, especially if people are going to be really fading him. I prefer Ellington for cash. Pigs in a Blanket, subscribed 3 months in a row. Thank you very much for the support.
Chocolate milk for all.
Chocolate milk for all. Look, let's all win some money this week. Which cash play do I prefer, Watson or Cook? Totally different price points. You're talking about like a $2,000 difference. Is Burkhead this week's Powell? I don't know. I try not to guys, here's the thing. You need to have a short memory. If you're going to be good at daily fantasy, you can't recall everything that went bad. Because one of the worst habits that daily fantasy players have is that they remember all the bad stuff and they never remember the good stuff, right? So you remember when we made this chalk play and it sucked? Yeah, that sucked, huh? Okay, well recency bias, it just happened last week, right? So it's in everybody's mind. But what about last year when Booker from Denver was the chalk play and was like 80% on 90% in cash, 70% in GPPs, and he had like 20-something points at min salary? It worked out that week. Sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not. The process still is right. And it's going to work more often, the process will, than it will fail. That's why it's the process. In 3-inch max, you have 100% exposure to someone like Ellington or 2/3 more realistic. It depends on what type of player you are. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. What are your thoughts on Gordon's decreasing role as well as Hunt's decreasing role? Long runs have been there. Yeah, I mean, Hunt was living off of 50-yard touchdown runs earlier in the season. He's not now. Does Randall Cobb at 3.9 interest you as a GPP flyer? Yeah, he's all right. Not somebody super thrilled to play, but I get it at that price point. Alex Smith naked in cash, not opposed to that. I'd probably pair him up with Kelsey, but I'm not opposed if you're going Alex Smith and you don't want to pair him up. He does have the ability to run in a touchdown. He had multiples last year. Thoughts on McCoy with a rookie quarterback could mean more opportunity. I mean, I don't know how you can jam more opportunity his way. He already gets 25 touches in that offense. I think his role will remain the same. If Fournette's out, Yeldon in a GPP, it's him or Ivory. I haven't decided yet. Yeldon's a good shout, though, with his involvement in the pass game. Win in New York, damper Tyreek's outlook. I mean, they're just going to get him the ball in space. It dampens the downfield type stuff, but he can catch they get him a wide receiver screen and he just kind of goes a lot of the time. With New York Giants projected to lose, do I feel Darkwa is overpaying when Vereen gets more catches? I don't know that I want either. I don't know that I want exposure to either one. Cook's week, look, any week against the Raiders with an injured player, if Hogan is still out this week, Cooks becomes a little bit more viable play for me. Tom Brady unnecessary for DK Cash? Yeah, I don't think you have to pay all the way up to get him. Gronk or Cooks in a GPP? A lot of people are going to go Gronk. I think Cooks will be less owned than him. I think that's a solid play. Going to be running an NFL GPP this week for the Discord League. Hey, if you ever want to get into the Discord is growing every single day. This morning at 10 a.m., I think there were 100 people in the Discord channel. So anytime you want that link, you can come right here to the Twitch chat and type !Discord if you don't already have it. Find your way in there. You can link your Discord to Twitch, and if you're a subscriber, anybody can be in Discord and chat. We have open channels in a lot of different subjects. There's also some subs-only channels for NFL and voice channels and NBA and everything else, and it's always basically going around the clock. So if you want to jump in there, get involved, probably a great idea. We had an NHL room. I did yesterday. There is one. What do you guys think of the new sub buttons? We have the red one for 0, 1, and 2 month subs. We have for 3 month subs, you get the silver sub badge. And then once we get a 6 month sub, golden sub badge. Nobody has gotten there yet. Somebody will get there soon because we have a bunch of 5 months. Strategy for afternoon-only games in cash you're going to dabble for the first time. I love using that. I mean, it's not something I do anymore because I can't sell the head-to-heads, but I used to play head-to-heads in 1 p.m. only, Sunday only, full slate, all the stuff, and that would allow me to get differentiation between all my lineups and exposure to players that I may not have. Sonic Librarian, thank you for the 200 bits. Pigs in a Blanket, I don't remember if I shouted you out. Thank you for the 3-month resub. So, if you're playing the Sunday slate, you're going to have some exposure to the afternoon guys. This makes you differentiate your lineup a little bit. Studfi chipping in, trying to fill the cup. Appreciate you. As soon as somebody subs or resubs, those are all going to get blown out of the cup, and it's going to be glorious. More confident in Patriots Chiefs onslaught going off. There's more things that could blow up in a Patriots onslaught, right? Like Deion Lewis could score 2 touchdowns, or White could score 2 touchdowns, or Burkhead could score 2 touchdowns, or Amendola could score. Like there's 6 dudes that could score on that offense, where like there's really 3 guys that can score for Kansas City. So because of the funnel nature of that offense, I prefer the Kansas City stack for tournaments, because less guys have the ability to score touchdowns, where on New England, there's a lot of guys that could score any single week. As the old saying that we came up with a long time ago on Grinders Live goes, we make plans, Belichick laughs. On a main slate, do I play every play for... What? Do you play every play for from same team? I don't get it. Are you saying like, do I play like 3 from one team and bring it back with 1 on the other? I mean, yeah, I'll onslaught every once in a while. It's rare for me. I prefer double stacks. It's tough for 4 guys, unless they're mispriced salary-wise, to go off in the same game. It's much easier for 2 pass catchers or a running back and a pass catcher with the quarterback to go off from the same team. If Hogan's out, do you like Danny Amendola pivot or pay up to Cooks? I prefer Cooks, but I get what you're doing with Amendola. Do I think Sterling Shepard is a must in DK Cash? Is as close as you're going to get. Like it's not like he's 4K or anything, but I think he's somebody you're going to... There's a lot of 6K wide receivers, but he's a lock, in my opinion, for 10 targets. So I want to get as many guys that I really believe are going to get 10 targets. Now, yes, I think that Hopkins will also get 10 targets, but they're going to be 10 very tough contested targets, or 10 plus very contested targets. I'll take the path of least resistance. What's up with Eckler? He's a good running back, and they like him. And he's eating into Gordon's snap count and in his market share of touches out of those running backs, but he's still at like 70%, which he's still getting the massive lion's share. Nobody's fading Devonta Freeman in weeks that both him and Coleman are available, so why are we fading Gordon when him and Eckler are both available? Prefer Kareem Hunt to Ingram for DK Cash. Apologize if I already asked. I think both are cash viable. I think Hunt will be a lot higher owned and isn't splitting time in any capacity with another running back. Yeah, there's West or whatever, but like realistically speaking, he's getting 80 to 90% of the work out of that backfield, where Ingram's getting like 65 right now. Burkhead must play. He's close to it. He's going to be very highly owned. Burkhead, Ellington, Shepard are going to be extremely highly owned plays. Pair them with 1 or 2 expensive wide receivers. Kelsey going to be very highly owned. That's going to be the chalk in cash this week. That's where the majority of people are going to be. Denver has passed Cleveland for points against with touchdowns. Yeah. Cleveland's still a target. Denver, definitely a target. Giants, always a target. Smith, Kelsey, Hunt, all in cash. Is it too much in cash? Dameron asks. I think so. I don't really want to have that much exposure to Kansas City's offense in cash. I think it's a great tournament stack. I think you can pick 2 of them for cash if that's really where you want to go. I don't think you need 3. And if I'm going to go with 2, Tyreek Hill is going to be the one I leave out of that trio. He's more expensive than wide receivers below him on the salary scale who project to get way more targets. So I'll take the 2 guys that I know are going to get the targets and the carries, then I'll pay down and get the same sort of usage from somebody else at a lower price point. Rulerman1 just blowing up the cup with a brand new sub. Appreciate you getting involved with Twitch Prime. Absolutely free new sub. Show him some love in the chat. Pick an emoji. What's your favorite new emote that we have here on Smiz TV? Which one do you guys like? I can't wait for Sunday for the Anti-Tinkercast with the Sunday Fun Day. Voice is echoing. Yeah, once again. Having some audio problems today. Apologize for it. I'll try and get it fixed by the Sunday stream. We fixed it yesterday, and then it came back today. You guys like the Kermit sipping tea? What about the Kermit with the AK? This is fine. What about the this is fine with me drinking the coffee in the fire? Like I pretended to be the dog. Any strategy thoughts on the Qs to Miami? Score more points than everybody else. I don't know what to. It's just like a GPP, but it's in even. It's a winner take all essentially. You got to win. There's no other way to do it. Dacia contrarian, yeah. No pan emote yet though. If you don't have a 7K plus running back in cash, are you doing it wrong? I think so this week. I think you need to have one of Hunt, Ingram, or Gordon in your lineup. At least one. Jamal Williams viable in cash or GPP. Jones and Tymont both out. I think he's viable, but I don't know if he's necessary. I don't think he's viable. I think he's viable in GPP, not necessary in cash with Burkhead. I think he makes for a good pivot in tournaments off of Burkhead if you want to fade the chalk there. I love Kermit sipping tea. He's like my favorite thing. Croft at Denver for just 2,900. Yeah, we mentioned him. I like him a lot. Denver been really soft against tight ends all year long. Definitely a way that you can go. And his target count's been solid as well. Doesn't need a touchdown to achieve value. Gabbert and Gordon or Bortles and Hunt in cash. The problem right now is Bortles. Again, we're in a holding pattern there because of the weather situation possibly in Jacksonville. I would go with the other one as of right now. Is it best to have 2 stud running backs in cash versus 1 and paying up for a wide receiver? You can't really pay up for a wide receiver this week. There's not that many. The 6K range is better than the 7K range in terms of wide receivers. So I really kind of feel like it's cheap wide receiver this week. Our typical way of playing is cheap quarterback, pay up for volume at wide receiver, find targets pay up for volume at running back, find wide receiver targets where you can, do what you can do with them, and then find the tight end that fits, find a defense mid-range that fits, and you go. This week, things are off the table a little bit because you don't have to pay up for a 9K guy. Cooks or Landry for DK cash? Give me Landry, please. Any Eli Love in cash? No, probably not going to go that route. Double tight end in GPP, Kelsey Cook, is that a fish move? No, double tight end in GPP is great. It's a fantastic way to play the game. Massive touchdown upside, usually lower owned than the wide receivers. If you're playing a double up with multi-entries, do I train enter it? I tend to not enter those, but if I was going to, I would probably just enter the same lineup because it doesn't matter if you finish up top. You just got to get in the money, and it pays the same if you come in. If it pays 500 spots, 490 pays the same as 1. So I just want to get in the money, and I want to get in there with as many as I can. Love your face. Love your face, too. Cutler in cash, I don't think it's terrible. I don't, and that scares the bejesus out of me. Is Jordy DFS dead? Yeah. All the wide receivers in Green Bay were touchdown-dependent guys. And when you're playing with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, it's easy to be touchdown-dependent because you're going to exercise that a lot. You're going to get looks in the red zone. You're going to get looks in the end zone. You're going to catch them because they're going to be catchable balls. Totally different situation with Hundley at quarterback. Fitzmagic and DK Cash. If you liked Fitzpatrick last week, you got to love him this week. Big upgrade in opponent with Miami. Cutler or Gabbert in cash. I prefer Gabbert.
Week 11.
E. Lindy, thank you for the 1,000 bits.
Thanks for all the knowledge. Much love.
Says Lego, thanks for all the knowledge. Much love. Hey, man, appreciate the support. David Carr in cash. I don't think you need to. I'd prefer to go lower on the salary scale. Carr's at 6,400. If you're going to go 6,400, I prefer Alex Smith at 6,700. If you're paying up there, I think that there's enough guys lower. I prefer to be between 4,500 and 5,500 for my cash game quarterback. And down in that range, you've got guys, you've got Gabbert, you've got Bortles if the weather's permitting, you have Fitzpatrick, you have Cutler. There's plenty of guys in that range, or you can come down to the new Buffalo quarterback if you want at min salary too. So there's plenty of guys that are cheap that you can go for. I said David or Derek? Sometimes I mess them up. What are you going to do? You knew who I meant. Get a grip, chat. Crowder lets you get to Brady. Crowder or OK and DK Cash. Yeah, I think he's all right. I don't think it's a bad play. He got over 10 targets the last 2 weeks. He's low 4K range. Yeah, I'm not against it at all. Melvin Gordon and Crowder or Chris Thompson and Cooks and Cash. Melvin Gordon and Crowder for me. I'll take all of that volume. I'll take the 20-plus touches from Melvin Gordon and the 10-plus targets from Crowder and Cash. Ted Ginn this week, GPP-ish for me. is Gronk or Kelsey a must play in cash? I don't think they're a must play. I think that Kelsey will be highly owned and higher owned than Gronk in cash, and I think Gronk makes a great tournament play this week because of all of that. Any way you'd actually play Mr. Peterman? I don't think he's... I'm not going to do it. Not in cash. Do you fade value that is chalk? Do you fade value that is chalk in GPPs? I don't fade it, but I will be sure to play a pivot off of it. Like, I play enough lineups that I can make a pivot lineup, and I've taught you guys how to do it in 3-max as well, right? If you're playing 3 lineups in a 3-max game, your third lineup, fade the chalk plays. If these 3 guys are the biggest chalk, find a different route. Don't use those 3 guys. Start in 3 different places for your third lineup, and that will force you to build a contrarian lineup that isn't bad, right? Just refuse to use those guys in your third lineup in. Why not jam him in on both the stud tight ends getting more love? Because I would rather take the supply from the running backs in that price range. If you're playing both of those tight ends, you're essentially costing yourself a 25 touch running back. You know, I'll take 25 touches from a running back who has involvement in the pass game and the goal line over an extra tight end who might get 8 targets. Now, if the tight ends both score 3 touchdowns, then yeah, hey, it was a great play. But like, over the course of a 17-week season, 16-game season, 6 years of that, 10 years of that, you're going to come out on the losing side if you continually make that decision. A ton of people just get caught up in the sexiness of, hey, I got Gronk and Kelsey. Yeah, but you passed up one of Ingram or Gordon or Hunt to do that. Lots of sharps have touted Croft this week. Thoughts? I like Croft this week. You know, we attack the path of least resistance. Denver against tight ends is one of those paths. Is Gordon still cash viable even with lost volume? He's still getting like 70% of the volume in that backfield. You saw Eckler fumble it late in that game last week. They're at home against a team that's given up 298 yards rushing last week, the second most running back points allowed in the league, the Buffalo Bills, at home, favored massively with a rookie quarterback. They haven't been able to move the sticks. This could be a 25-touch week for Melvin Gordon with red zone and inside the 5 opportunities. Am I doing NBA Twitch tonight? I'm probably not going to because I don't feel educated enough on this slate to feel like I'm going to put on a good show. But if you want to jump in the Discord, there are plenty of people talking about it since like 7 in the morning this morning and all day long. So jump in the NBA, or if you're a sub, jump in the Subs NBA channel and go check that out. Burkhead, Lewis, or Riddick in cash. Give me Burkhead. Melvin Gordon is this week's Ingram Twitter fight. Yeah. People just want to get mad about stuff. Charger wide receivers, I'm going to have to dig into that more. I'd probably go with Allen, but like I'm not too sure about it at this point. I don't know who I like there. I'll dig into it more. We'll look at that on Sunday morning for the Anti-Tinkercast. Right here on twitch.tv/Al_Smith. So I didn't actually say play him. PPR price included or excluded. Who do I leave out this week? Keenan, Evans, Diggs, or Baldwin? Probably Diggs. In 150 entries, do I ever have 100% exposure? Not in football, no. Sometimes in basketball, like very rarely. I usually top out at 80% in basketball. Football, if I get up to like 60 or 70%, it's like really high for me. Ramsey at 2,400, good move. Not a terrible move. Thompson in cash, you can, but I don't think it's necessary. How do you get to the Subs NBA channel on Discord? On Discord, you have to link your Discord and do it on desktop in the instructions. There's a hashtags on the left, like a Slack channel. Click the one that says instructions. It will tell you how to link your Discord account to your Twitch account. Every hour on the 8s, it will push and do an update. Once your name's in blue, you'll have access to all the subs channels if you're a Twitch sub in Discord. Just kind of an extra bonus for Twitch subs. Smith or Breeze, DK Cash, both are fine. They're like the same price, and it's scary. I think that Smith is averaging more points. Breeze is not throwing the ball like he used to. We're so used to this 5,000-yard Breeze with 50 touchdowns every single year, 45-plus touchdowns every single year. He's not that guy this year. This offense is running through these two backs a ton, right? Like 30 carries a week, 10 catches a week for the backs. It's a different offense than it used to be. So it's a different Drew Brees than it used to be. I think Alex Smith, Brees still has that 400-yard, 3-touchdown upside. Alex Smith probably doesn't have that, but Alex Smith has been more consistent. I'm going to stay with Alex Smith, and I think that Drew Brees is fantastic for tournaments. Macklin or Parker? Give me Parker on FD. Am I on Evans at all? Yeah, in GPPs. I don't think he's necessary in cash this week with all the mid-range value at wide receiver and cheap value at running back and wide receiver. When would I opt for 2 tight end in cash? When I can't afford stuff. When there's no value running backs, when there's no value wide receivers. We definitely have that this week. I don't know that it's a necessary thing this week. Doug Martin in cash. He does get a lot of volume, and it is Miami. But like, who are you sacrificing for him? Are you pivoting off of Burkhead to get to him? Because then it's like, okay, I see what you're doing there. That's fine. But are you going to cost yourself somebody else? And if you are, where are you spending? Marvin Jones sneaky. Anybody who had, and that's a good question, Casey Wagner. Anybody who had a horrible game last week and was somewhat chalk in NFL, and this goes for every week, is a great sneaky play the next week. Because people move on. If they, like 30% of the field played him, they don't want to get burned again. They move on to the next guy. Well, I was chasing all those targets, and now they're going to disappear, and they'll never, ever be back. Right? They're going to come back. He will get targeted still. So I do think he's a good GPP play. Like Brown yesterday. Exactly. I faded Brown. That's bad. Yeah, Ingram last week, who I didn't recommend, even though I said his name on 2 different streams constantly. Brees is an incredible GPP play, in your opinion. Yeah, like I said, how many quarterbacks in the league have 400-yard, 3-touchdown upside? And Brees is still one of them, even though we haven't seen that from him this season. When he plays in New Orleans, he always will have that sort of upside. It's not like he has bad wide receivers. Let's say he connects on one deep play with Ginn, and then connects with Thomas on, I don't know, a 20-yard touchdown, and then Kamara breaks one off a screenplay. There's your 3 touchdowns right there. And all of those things are things that you would, if I told you that happened this week, you would not be shocked. Right? At what point is Kamara too expensive? Are we there? I kind of think we are. You're getting 15 touches a game for Alvin Kamara. And he's 7,500, right? He's 7,500. Has he been really efficient? Hell yes. Right? Has he been very efficient? Yes. Has he scored 4 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks? Yes. That part is not sustainable. Take the touchdowns out. He had 10 points here. This week he had 20 points. Great. This week he had 21 points. Great. That's still paying off value at 7,500. So we're reaching that point now where like he has to have monster games. And he has to do it on 15 touches. So like this is where his price is starting to get very scary for me. Because essentially, explain to me how he's different usage-wise than Chris Thompson, assuming that Rob Kelly isn't there, right? Because you're going to look at this and you say, well, he only got 4 targets here and 4 targets there, and Kamara got more targets. Well, what about here, right? When he had 4 touchdowns in 3 weeks, in the first 3 weeks of the season, and we were all saying that's not sustainable, right? But look what he's doing, 33 points, 15 points, 25 points. We said it was unsustainable. It was. But this, he's still doing it here in weeks 6 through 8, right? He's 5,400. Kamara, essentially the same back with very similar usage, is $2,100 more. I think that those gadget guys are all essentially the same guy. And what we end up doing is falling prey to recency bias. Well, this guy's the hot guy now, so I want to be on the hot guy that's scoring all the touchdowns right now. So let's play him. And ignoring these other guys who have the same amount of usage as the guy who's going off currently and is, in all the highlights. Find the guy who's not in the highlights who's doing all the same stuff. Exactly. Thompson's splits without Kelly have been pretty nice. Exactly. They really have. Just got Discord linked to Twitch. I'm old too, man. I get it. Marvin Jones wasn't good last week because Jason McCourty is very good this year. I don't disagree with that. And now people are going to ignore Marvin Jones because they're going to move on to the next thing. which those guys that should still get volume in their offense are players that you should pay attention to. Imminent GPP, does he get Slay? I don't know. I'll take a look at Mike Clay's wide receiver cornerback matchup. It's got a downloadable chart where you can see where they line up, where the wide receivers line up, where the cornerbacks line up, and do they shadow. Best tool in the world if you want to know if a cornerback and a wide receiver are going to get used. 3 Redskins in a cash lineup, too much probably. I don't want 3 guys from one team in my cash game lineup. Unless they're mispriced. If it's a mispriced situation, then yes. If it's like I just think the offense is going to go off, I save that for GPPs. I'm not doing that in cash. Silva good for that as well? Yeah. Evan Silva. Great football mind. Mike Wallace GPP dart throw? Sure. Especially with Adam hyping up Macklin as much as he is. Wallace will be much lower owned. Favorite offense this week overall? There's 3. The New Orleans offense, the Chiefs offense, and New England's offense. Thoughts on Ajayi this week? Massive timeshare. There's like 3 running backs that are going to get the ball, and good luck picking which one. Howard rebound week? I'm not going to do it. I know why. I get it. Like, it's hard with Howard because he doesn't get used in the pass game at all. So that's just a big problem for me. You have Smith, Kelsey, and Hunt. See, that's not as bad to me because volume-wise, they're going to be fine. And I'm not counting the quarterback in that. Why no love for the Raiders' pass offense? I don't have a problem with the Raiders' pass offense. I like Cook. I like Crabtree. That would be 2 of the 3 pieces in their pass offense, right? Fitzpatrick bounce back week. Like I said, if we liked Fitzpatrick last week, and we did, I played him in cash. Obviously, he didn't have a great game. This is a better matchup with better weather. Sanders or Thomas? Sanders look good against New England. Yeah, I prefer Sanders to Thomas right now, and that scares me because I think Thomas is a better wide receiver. General process question. General process. Is defense the last position you look to fill for your cash game lineup? Yeah, I tend to just plug in like a 3K defense, and then depending on if I need a little bit more money, I'll look for a cheaper one. If I have extra money left over after I get all the position players I want, I'll dial up a little bit. But the positions are way more important than defense. Way too much I treat kickers the same way. I don't care what kicker I have. I really don't. And I do fine. I feel like I'm wasting brain power. It's almost like you think about guys like Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, great. You never saw them wearing different clothes. They have all the same clothes in their closet, and they just put on, this is my gray shirt, this is my hoodie, and this is my pants. And this is what I wear every day, right? Because that's less brain power that they're wasting that they could be using on something useful to think about something like, what shirt should I wear today? Something as lame as that. So to me, that's how I look at kickers. I'm not going to waste my daily fantasy brain power crunching kickers, especially with like some, Roto Grinders has all their guys doing like a test of, does it matter? Should we spend all that much time on kicker? And the random kicker is just kind of hanging out. Random kicker is just kind of chilling, doing just as good as everybody that's picking kickers against them, using whatever projection system they want to use, right? And I'm not picking a random kicker. I'm just like, give me the cheapest guy with the highest team total on an offense that might stall. Whatever. Who is it? That guy? Good. Let's go. Move on. Let's spend our time on the positions that matter. Do I just play minimum kickers or high prices? I want to spend as little on a kicker as possible, but some weeks I have money left over, right? If I have like an extra 400 after I've got all the position players that I want, I'll say, okay, well, I could upgrade my kicker to somewhere else. Now, who's got a higher team total, in a better kicking environment? That takes me literally 8 seconds. How much % allocation do I give to a guy who's labeled a GPP flyer? It depends from week to week. Normally pay down in QB and cash. This looks like the week we may want to pay up. Yeah, because there's enough value to do it. So like I said this on the Edge Pod, that if you want to pay up, you can. You don't have to. But I mean, I currently, I think in cash, I have a cheap quarterback lineup right now for like I haven't worked on it yet. I work on it tonight, and then Sunday morning is when I finalize everything. But like my dummy lineup that's in there right now has a cheap kicker, and I'm happy with it because like every other position I have all the guys that I want. Justin Tucker every week. Find a guy playing in a dome. That was the Jay Adonde rule when he was in our fantasy league. Every year at the draft, he would draft a dome kicker. He had a list of like 4 guys who played in domes, and that was it. He only picked dome kickers. I was like, I get 8 games in a dome. I know there's not going to be wind. How much salary are you willing to leave on the table for cash? 300-400. Typically. I'm not going to leave like 800. I think you could fix something with 800 more. You know, you can find an upgrade. If entering 20 lineups max, do you create your lineups by hand or use a lineup generator? For 20, if that's all you're playing, I think you can make 20 lineups by hand. Pretty easily. 150 is out of control. How do you determine percent allocations? Usually right guys, but wrong combos due to percent exposure. Trial and error. It takes a lot of practice, man. You can also group guys. You can say, make sure that I have 10% of this combination of players, right? You can use like, make sure I have 5% of my lineups have Smith, Kelsey, Hunt, right? You can say, make sure 15% have that. Just so that you make sure that you're like, you know what? I need to know that if I'm making 100 lineups that I have at least 5 or 10 that have these players. Like I do that in basketball a lot. I'm like, okay, these are the chalk guys. These are where I want. I'm going to have 50% of this guy, 40% of this guy, 60% of this guy. But like, I want to be sure that like 10% of my lineups have the core 5 that I have in my basketball lineups. So like I make sure that those 5 guys are at least 10% of my lineups. I force them in. And they may be in more than that, but like a minimum of 10% have to have that core. So it's just trial and error. Is it a viable GPP strategy to leave 400, 800 table? Yes. Because again, in GPPs, you're just trying to score the most points. Favorite smash spot this week? Chiefs against the Giants D. Heading to Nashville tomorrow for the RG party. You're hyped? It's a fun time, man. I've been to every RG party since 2013. This will be the first one that I'm missing because I just can't. With the FanDuel final, the DraftKings final coming up in December, holidays next weekend, Thanksgiving next weekend, Christmas coming up on top of that as well in the next 5-6 weeks. It's just too much travel for me, so I had to skip it this year. It's the first year that I'm not going to be at the RG party. Always a great time. I hope that you guys have a lot of fun if you're going to that. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the lineup builder for today. Thank you guys for being here a ton. Really appreciate everybody that took part in it. If you're still watching on YouTube, take a second, click that like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Hopefully this helped you out. We'll have the audio problems fixed for the Sunday morning show. Thank you guys for being here. And if you're not a subscriber yet on Twitch, get a grip. Click that subscribe button. It's free if you use Amazon Prime, linking it to your Twitch Prime. Use that sub token on this channel. Get exposure to the chat for every one of these shows that it's locked down to subscriber only. And I will give you the best emotes on twitch.tv. We'll catch you guys later. Bye, everybody.